to Track podcast. This is Sonja Ramirez, your girl, and I'm sitting next to
Miguel Ramirez.
What's up? How was your day?
How was your week?
How is your life?
Going.
So exciting times. Yesterday, I thought that there was a. Babe, can you turn me on? You know how to turn me on?
I know how to turn you on, baby. I know how to turn you on. What are you talking about? Turn you up a little bit?
Yeah.
All right.
Turn me up. So yesterday, somehow we ended up with a house full of kids.
Yeah.
Like, what do you mean, yeah? You heard nothing. So I'm in the room doing some reading. And all of a sudden, I hear all this racket. And I keep hearing the doorbell ring, right? One after another. And I hear all this ruckus, like screaming and just craziness. And I was like up over my head. Like I was about to.
Well, we had what? 7, 8 kids.
Yeah, but I didn't know how many kids were here. I just heard the doorbell ringing. And then all of a sudden I heard what it sounded like war going. And I thought they were fighting. Yeah. So I was opening the door to tell them, okay, it's time for you guys to go. And then I walk out my door and they're all having fun. They're playing Nerf guns and there's 7 or 8 little boys shooting each other. And I'm like, they're just having fun. So I'm like, I'm going to record this because I know one day we're going to look back on this and we're going to cry like babies.
Yeah. No, it was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. And you know what? This is a parenting parenting moment because like as we get older, right?
Yeah.
We don't want all the noise.
No.
Like I want silence.
I appreciate.
I just want it quiet, nice and chill.
Yes.
But when you have 7, 8 little kids, I mean, all between what, 5 and Audrey was probably 10, the oldest one, like what, 10, 11?
Yes.
So between 5 and 11, we got 7 or 8 kids. And they all have their own Nerf guns, and they're just running up and down the stairs. They're shooting each other. They're running in and out of the rooms. They're all screaming and yelling.
Yes. And so I'm like, where, like, how is Miguel not?
Well, but what I was going to say is, like, as we get older, we just want that silence. Yeah. But it's kind of tough when you go upstairs and you see them all laughing and
having
smiling
a good time.
And jumping on each other and shooting each other and chasing each other. It's like, what am I supposed to do? Like, fuck this up for them?
Yeah. Well, I don't even think did you know? Because I came down and you had a headset on.
It was when it was getting crazy. So the thing is that I was working on my schoolwork.
Right.
And it was getting crazy. So I went into my toolbox and I grabbed a pair of earplugs and I grabbed a set of ear protectors that we use, like, you know, for the aircraft or if you're in a concert or a NASCAR race or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And or if you're like in construction. Yeah. You just,
so Miguel
I just
was
put
like
my
fully
earplugs and my headset on and I couldn't hear shit. Yeah. I mean, I could barely hear a faint something, but not enough to distract me from what I was doing then. And I was like, fuck it. They could just have fun and I'll just do what I got to do.
Those are the memories that are going to last a lifetime.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, you know, at the same time, it's like, hey, let them play.
Let them be kids.
Yeah.
Let them be kids. My mom would have kicked our asses. She would have kicked everybody out. Like, everybody out.
Growing up, we could have did that shit in my house because it was just me. So it was me and my little brother and sister, and we could have just shot the place up. It would have been fun. I mean, we did do stuff like that.
No way. My mom wanted a clean house.
Yeah.
Like a clean house. But these kids, they're so good. Like they picked up before they left. And
no, they were really
everything
good.
was good.
They were good.
And today we ended up,
with a couple more. It's funny because when they come over, so what was I doing? I think I was researching something on the computer. On YouTube, because that's how I do my research. And so I had a headset. Actually, I had this headset on, and I'm watching a video, and I put the headset on so that they don't distract me. But I can still hear, and I pause the video or whatever. And I hear the doorbell ring, and the kids walk over, and there was already maybe like 5 or 6 kids over. It was just more kids showing up to play.
Yes.
Because, you know what I think it is probably?
What's that?
Is that the other kids in the neighborhood, they go looking for each other. And they're like, oh, they're not here.
That's true.
They're with so-and-so. And then they go to so-and-so. It's like, oh, they're not here. They're over at so-and-so.
Yes.
And then before you know it, they're all ringing on the doorbell of wherever they're at.
Yes, that's true. That's
right?
true because they all ended up here at the same time.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there, the doorbell rings, and I hear Joey open the door, and he's like, oh, hi, come in. And he's like, it's like a hotel for kids right now. That's what he says. It's like a hotel for kids. I can hear him through my headset.
He's going to remember that. Like, my mom and dad were cool.
Yeah.
You know, because once I saw that they were having a good time, I decided to record it. And I did a Facebook Live. And, they're like, are you recording us? And they were, excited. And before, when we moved in here, there weren't too many little boys. Audrey had a lot of girls to play with, but there wasn't too many little boys.
Yeah.
Right? And then the little boys that were here moved out. And so these are all new kids
from the neighborhood
that moved into our neighborhood. And I feel so good that now Joey has a bunch of friends to play with.
This is one of the reasons why we moved over here. Like, because they had the better schools on this side of town. And this is like a very family-oriented neighborhood.
Yes.
And we wanted the kids to have friends, to grow up with friends, and not be moving from this shitty school to that shitty school to that shitty school, and then you never really have any friends.
Yeah.
So we thought it would be kind of cool to stay in one place, let them go to school, and
and then we got a house that has a pool, and I'm thinking, okay, well, our kids are going to be the cool kids because we got a pool, and then we find out that every house has a pool
in this neighborhood. Yeah.
Which is cool because then they can take turns.
Yeah, it is.
But our door is like a revolving door.
But it's like it goes in cycles, right? Because sometimes they're all over here, and then sometimes they're just all playing somewhere else.
Yeah.
But it's cool.
And another thing that's really cool is that you get to know their parents. Like, I have so many neighbors' phone numbers in my phone, and where we lived before, I think I knew 2 of our neighbors, and it's only because we all moved in at the same time, so we were their original buyers.
Yeah.
So I think it's very cool that we all talk as well. Matter of fact, okay, guys, so Miguel is an introvert, okay? Those of you that know us know this. And so he doesn't, have too many. The friends that he has are very few, far in between, but they're really good friends.
Yeah.
So I will talk to anybody and everybody. Like, I'll go walk down the street and I'm like, hey, I got some new friends and look what they gave me. Right?
Yeah. I'm always wondering what kind of shit you're going to bring home. I'm like, who gave that to you?
And Miguel, the other day, we were putting up our Halloween decor. And so all the neighbors were out and stuff. And Miguel told me, of course, after having a drink, hey, I'm going to go talk to the neighbors.
Well, we were putting up Christmas lights.
I know. Yeah, it's just funny, though. I'm like, oh, so you're going to go make some friends?
Well, yeah, they were outside across the street. And I was like, hey, I'm going to go say hi.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
It was cool. I got to know. And there were a couple dads across the street. And that's the other house a lot of times. Their houses are side by side, and the kids will go play over there.
Yeah. So if you're an introvert and you're watching this, I want you to maybe give us a call or message us and let me know if this is how you are during a conversation.
This is the thing. Oh yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Right?
Explain
it's funny. So I'm in the kitchen and Miguel's, we're cooking dinner, and I look at him and I just start laughing because I had a thought. Because I know my husband very well. And so there's 3 guys out there, and Miguel makes the third. And so they're, talking and having a conversation, and the other 2 guys know each other pretty well. And so they're talking, and I could see Miguel standing by, listening to their conversation and thinking how he's going to respond.
That's not true. We're sitting there. No, it is in some instances, but I'm also we are also talking. I'm talking to them.
Yeah.
I'm talking to one of them, and then I'm talking to the other guy. Yes. It's not like I'm just fucking sitting there ooh,
I know.
And they're talking to each other, and I'm like, yeah. No, that's not.
But it's just funny because us extroverts, dude, we're not thinking anything. We already know what we're gonna say before they even stop talking. We're thinking about we got it, we got this. But as an introvert, because you're not used, that whole socializing, it's not. And
in my head, if people are talking, I'm like, all right, do you have anything to contribute? Can you relate? Do you have a story about that?
Yes.
Share your story. Is that appropriate? You might not want to say that.
So shit like that. Two guys are, talking, and Miguel's like thinking this to himself, but I could totally see that. So I made a comment, and he's like, "Yeah." Like, and
I got shit going through my head. It's like, don't say that. They'll never talk to you again. I was like, okay, yeah, that's fine. You can say that, and then I'll, say something like, oh yeah.
It's so cute, and that's just one of the Opposites Attract podcast. And how we are different, but on so many levels we are similar. We're the same but different. Is that what
same but different? That's
same but
Chris
different.
Said, yep.
We got to get some shirts that say that.
Yep. Same on the front, but different on the back. But
different. Yeah.
Yep. But no, we had one of our first guests, actually the first guest that we had when we built, I guess, this new studio.
Yes.
Was David Hall, and he studied introverts, mostly introverts, extroverts. You guys can go back and check that out. But on that episode, like, we were talking about introverts and like what it really means. Like, it doesn't mean that you don't go out and talk to people.
I know. I'm just giving you shit, baby.
It doesn't mean that you don't like speaking in front of people.
Right.
All it means is that at a certain point, you just want to be by yourself to kind of relax. And that is what recharges you. It re-energizes you to kind of, okay, now, now that I've had my alone time, I get to chill and have my thoughts to myself.
Yes.
Now I can go and interact with other people again. You know, and then eventually because every time that you have an interaction with other people, it's a little bit, it's not that, it's kind of like a gas tank. And every time you're having interactions, your gas tank is emptying.
Yes.
Not in a bad way. They're good interactions or whatever. Yeah. I'm just saying, but it's not like, but at a certain point, you have to kind of just regroup and hang out by yourself, or hang out with people that you're very close to and just kind of recharge. And then once your gas tank is full again, then you can go do it again.
And with us extroverts, it's the total opposite. It's like the more people that are around, the more energy
your gas tank is filling up.
Oh, totally. Yes. But I've noticed that since I've gotten older, and because I'm an empath, or I feed off other people's energy too. If I'm giving, my tank goes lower and lower. And there's times where I need to be alone, and that's where I go into prayer or meditation. Like, I'll go in the backyard. You'll see me alone, and I need that to re-energize.
You've been doing that a lot more.
Yeah. Like yesterday, having, talking, just
one of all the situations
needed help, and so and I've feel it more lately.
Maybe it's a balance or as you get older, I don't know. Maybe it's just not a set rule of things.
Yeah.
And I know it's not, because some people are very introverted to where they definitely do not want to speak in front of anybody.
Right. Their best friend is their computer.
And they, or their cat or whatever, but like in my case, no, like I do like speaking in front of people. Yeah, I do like talking to other people.
Yeah. Like this podcast was your idea.
Exactly.
But it is just you and I, but every once in a while we'll have a guest as well. And you're okay with that.
And every once in a while you'll be like, hey, I'm going to go to the store. And sometimes you're like, I'm going to take the kids or whatever. And I'm like, okay, cool. And then I get a little bit of time to just hang out for a couple hours and do whatever. And
not only that, but if you're in a relationship and you're an introvert and your significant other is an extrovert, there has to be, like, for example, with Miguel, I mean, if we go out on a date, his idea of a date is not taking me dancing.
Yes,
but he knows me.
This is different. What I think what you're talking about is, like, let's say we go to a party of somebody that you know. That would be, because going out on a date, if it's just
to a club,
like to a bar or a club, and we're gonna go dancing,
it's just you and I.
That to me is almost like there's nobody else around. It's just you and me, because we don't know anybody at the club. I don't care about anybody at the club. I'm not trying to talk to anybody at the club, so I don't care.
Yeah.
But if we go to, like, let's say,
there's a time where you're ready to leave and a time where I'm just getting started.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to share. And I had to recognize and respect you as an individual, because I used to get mad. I used to get upset. Like, wait, I'm just getting started. Like, I'm having a good time, and he's wanting to leave already. You know, like, I want to leave when they're like last song of the night, you know? Yeah.
When the people in the house are yawning and they're trying to go to bed.
But we used to get into arguments back then regarding this.
Yeah.
And, you know, I had to recognize that wasn't fair to you.
Yeah. And I think we both kind of compromised to kind of make it work for both of us. Because I realized also, like, we can't show up to somebody's house and then leave 12 minutes later.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, all right, 10 minutes in, and I'm like, I think it's time to go. I think we've done what we needed to do here. It's time to go, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, I've had a glass of water, and we said hi to everybody, and now maybe we can say bye and leave. But you're like, dude, we got hours to go still, you know? So, and for you instead, like, because in the beginning, I'd be like, hey, babe, let's, you know, you ready to head out? And you'd be like, yeah, sure. Fucking 3 hours later, I'm like, what the hell is going on here? And I'm starting to get pissed off.
You are pissed off, not starting.
Or maybe an hour into it, I'm getting pissed off because I'm like, hey, what's up? And you're just like, yeah, no, we're gonna leave in a little bit. And she turns around and keeps laughing and talking to and everybody else in the group laughing and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck, you know? But I realized that, all right, if we show up, I don't know, let's hang out for a while, depending on whatever time we get there, you know. But at the same time, it's like, all right, at a certain point, I want to start making my way out. Or even before we get there, we'll be like, I'll say something like, hey, you know, it's 7:00 now. Maybe like by 11, let's start working our way out or something like that. Yeah. And it's like, okay, cool. But and if we leave at 11:30, it's fine.
Yeah, but we had to get to that level. Like, we did not start off there at all. You know, like, I feel that our first 5 years were somewhat challenging.
Like trying to work everything out.
Yeah. Getting to know each other. You know, it was challenging. But now I feel that we are doing really good. I feel that we're on the right track, even though we have to continue working on ourselves, continuing to grow together, you know, having similar goals, but individual goals as well.
Yeah.
And not losing our individuality, because I believe that that's what happens when you get married. It's all about the other person. It's all about, or sometimes it's all about you, and there's no compromise, you know, and all of a sudden you see that you guys are drifting, and now you're trying to look for an escape.
Yeah. When you should be looking at stuff to do together. Goals, common goals.
Yeah.
You know?
But you have to go through those rough patches. You have to survive those rough patches. And there's so much information out there for you. Books, audios.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that. And so Miguel and I recently joined a group, the 5 Love Language.
I want to choke you out sometimes.
Why?
Do you remember what we were going to talk about? Like, right before I hit record on this podcast.
What?
I was like, how about we start out the podcast with something? We hit fucking record and you just went off to the races on fucking introverts, extroverts, and all this other shit. And I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
I forgot.
Oh my God, babe.
But I'm thinking if we can just stay on track with this.
That's what I'm saying. Stay on
out of the way.
Dude, we were off the rails from the first topic.
Well,
you almost didn't even do the intro. Right?
Yes, I did. So we talked about being introverts, extroverts.
What I was going to say is we've had a lot of activity on the podcast recently.
Oh, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Right? And we just wanted to say thank you to everybody that's listening and following the podcast. Like we couldn't do this without you, and we really appreciate it. And it's not just in one place. I mean, just the audio downloads are increasing like all over the world and in all kinds of crazy places, wherever you may be listening to, whether it's India, Australia, Ireland, Russia, Iceland. I mean, just all over the country. Yes. I mean, we have a couple in West Virginia now. Yeah. I mean, all over the United States. So thank you for everybody that's following us, wherever you're following us, whether it's Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter. I think we're so close to getting to 20 followers. Wow. So if you guys have a Twitter, somebody, please follow us so that we can get to 20, right? I mean, but no.
Yeah, because this podcast only grows, if, you guys
like it, you guys share it, you guys comment. And it really helps. We appreciate it. And wherever you listen to it, if you guys can leave us a review, it helps. But also recently, welcome to anybody that we've met or that we've talked to through the 5 Love Languages group on Facebook, which is something that you found.
Yes.
And it's been cool.
Yeah.
It's been really cool.
I really like it.
Now, a disclaimer real quick for anybody that may be listening from that group. Now, on our podcast, this is uncensored because the 5 Love Languages, it is written by a person that, Gary Chapman, who is a very Christian man.
Yes.
And, we go all over the place on this podcast. And we talk about everything, whether it's the bedroom, and we tell stories. So, just be careful. Don't listen to it around your kids.
And Miguel has a colorful language.
Yeah. So, anyway. But, welcome. Welcome to everybody.
Definitely. Yeah, I didn't understand that. Now we're going. I didn't understand how exactly the podcast grows and how it looks. Like all that stuff doesn't really interest me very much. And so Miguel the other day, he was like super excited because of where the podcast is going. And so he pulled up the map and started to show me all the activity. And I was just blown away by that. It's super cool because you never know
you have no
who's
idea.
Listening. And I am that person who I want to make a difference in someone's life. I want us to be that platform.
We can be.
And seeing that,
we will be.
Yeah, and seeing that, I believe, we have the platform.
Yeah.
To help, by sharing
and have
our
fun.
challenges and obstacles and have fun at the same time. Yeah. So it's very cool.
And obviously the 5 love languages, that's something that we've recommended a lot on this podcast, even though I am not religious, like you guys know. Sonja is spiritual as far as Christianity. I don't know. You can explain it better. We can talk about it a little later. But, the techniques, the principles that they talk about in the book, I think are very important. I mean, regardless of your religious beliefs, they can help.
Right.
You know what I mean? And if you're too stubborn, you got to get rid of that. Because if it was written by a Christian man and he talks about God in the book, it's like, you know what? Put your ego aside and listen to it anyway, because you're going to get something out of it.
Yes. And I feel in the group, there was a question, and I would like for us to go over that because.
So the question that you were looking at earlier was, can a person that is a Christian, well, specifically they said a believer, a Christian, and a non-believer, can they have a successful marriage or relationship?
Yes. And so reading all the comments, it was very interesting to me. There was one that stood out that stated, as a Christian woman.
Yeah, it was I can't remember because I don't follow it. But it was a Bible verse, something about,
as a Christian woman, we are to submit to our husbands. And
that's not the one that I was talking
and
about.
Miguel kind of wrinkled his nose a little bit, but I told him that's exactly what I did. I mean, I started reading the Bible and I started reading verses on marriage. And before the 5 love languages, the Bible got me on track.
Yeah.
And that's what got me, to submit and just to be more patient and put love before all.
Yeah.
And not judge.
But as far as a Christian person, a person that is a believer of Christ, can they have a successful marriage with a non-believer? Now, one of the things that I read, it was something about, I can't remember the Bible verse specifically, but I know it had something in there about what does a believer have in common with a non-believer? How can, what are you supposed to build together if you got your guys' foundation isn't even secure? It was something like that, to that effect, and I was kind of thinking about, and I do think that if you are straight up a Christian believer and you follow the Bible, you're going to have a hard time having a Christian like that and a non-believer. And actually, it just may not happen.
Right.
It may not happen and it's not going to work maybe. But if the Christian person is not as, I don't know if strict is the right word, or maybe they're a little bit more open to spirituality or whatever. But then that kind of the definition of being a Christian, I don't know if they have that.
So why don't we just share our story, because we can't speak for everyone else.
So how do you see things?
So Miguel and I grew up not in a religious home.
Yeah.
We were Catholic. We would go to church.
On special occasions.
Yeah. So when we got into our relationship, that's not even a conversation that we had.
No, we didn't talk about, because my family wasn't really religious at all either.
And so my spiritual beliefs came during the marriage. You know, with my sister passing and going through the struggles of life. And
it wasn't even going to church that you had these experiences. They just kind of happened to you.
They're spiritual experiences.
But it wasn't like you know what, I'm going to start going to church.
No.
And then you go to church and go to church and go to church, and then you start becoming closer and closer.
Yeah.
It just, events happen.
I felt the division. And it was a fear of mine, because I started searching. Like, think about it. I started searching. I was reading the Bible. I started going to church. I did start going to church.
Yeah.
And you weren't going with me at the time. I was taking the kids. And I started to feel that the closer I get to God, the further I'm going to get away from you. And that was a big fear. And then I had one of my spiritual mentors told me, God will not divide you and your husband. That's the enemy.
Yeah.
So continue to do good, continue to do right, and pray for your husband, and read the Bible. And that's what I started to do. Like, I started to read the Bible, and there were times where you and I were at it. We couldn't even talk about God. Do you remember? We couldn't even talk about God because we would start to fight. Arguments started happening, and I felt that we were starting to grow apart.
Yeah.
And so that's when I started having conversations with God and talking to everybody else. And I just started to continue my path, but love you regardless. And because God is love, and love conquers all, that's what my foundation was
being built on.
Yeah. And I feel that you started maybe to open up. Like, you started to soften up a little bit. Like, you weren't so demeaning.
I don't know. I think
you weren't enforcing your belief. I know, that's what I'm saying. You weren't. You became more.
No,
supportive.
I don't think I've ever enforced my belief on you,
or trying to get me to look the other way.
I've always had questions, and in the beginning, you were more closed on any other options. Yes, it was like, this is what it says, and this is what it is. And I'd be like, yeah, but what about this? And like, you would kind of just be like, you weren't even open to really listening to it. And that's when it would get frustrating.
Mm-hmm.
And then maybe the arguments would start or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then as time went on, I think you started having more questions of your own. And then it just kind of became a more open thing between the two of us.
Yeah.
Because even at the same time, like at first, and I'll say, like, it was my ego. Like, I'm like, why am I going to go to church? Like, I don't believe in that stuff anyway, Yeah. And the way I saw it is like, if this is something that is not, in my eyes, necessarily true, regardless of, the good that comes from it, there's a lot of other parts of it that, maybe there's a lot of guilt that's associated with it, or, other things. And I don't know if I necessarily, like, we could teach the kids morals and how to do the right thing based off of our examples and actual other stories, that are out in the world. And yeah, I think I just kind of opened up, and it's like, you know what? I can go to church I may not necessarily believe everything that they're, or believe the stories, but the messages can be good. Because what I've always related it to is like a nonfiction book, or I mean a fiction book that, you know, has a lot of great lessons in it, but the story, everything in there is made up. It doesn't mean that the lessons aren't real. It doesn't mean that the lessons aren't true and that you can't learn something from it. It just means that it, you know, for me, I believe that this may or may not actually have happened.
Yeah.
You know?
So then Miguel started to attend church. And, you know, when we say grace at the table, like you hold our hands, you know, and you may not say amen, which at first really bugged me. It really irritated me. But then I had to get over that. Like I just did. I just had to get over that. And so I think because we were both open and respectful and supportive, and our foundation is love, I think that's what helped us to come together. And not only that, but just supporting each other, you know, supporting each other. And reading the New Testament also opened my eyes, because in the New Testament, I don't remember what verse it is, but it states like a non-believer, you know, God doesn't condemn a believer being with a non-believer, you know, but if you ever want to divorce me, let him go. Yeah. You know, like let him go. It's okay. If I was with a believer, there's no way out. Like you're in this marriage.
Yeah.
You know, like, you are to fix it.
This is it.
You are to, yes.
This is it. There's no other alternative.
So it kind of gave me a little way out. No, if he ever wants to divorce me, whatever, leave. God's okay with that. No, just kidding. But no, it can work. In this situation, for us, it has worked.
Yes.
And it's because you are open, you are supportive, and you and I have that foundation of respect, love, and communication.
And we've looked at a lot of different things together. I mean, like really, it is true. Like when you start looking at all the stuff that we, like since then, all the science that we've seen, like, I mean, we've looked at a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Right? Some of this stuff is so technical that there is nothing written like that. Like if you, I don't know, I don't want to get into the whole religious thing, but there's a lot of stuff that science explains in a way that is undeniable. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like people spent their entire lives studying this, creating formulas and making theories and all these different things. And it's explained in a way that, I mean, they still test it. They still prove it all the time, you know? Yeah. And it's not written in a story form. Like, you know, this is hard evidence, you know, but anyway.
I mean, I believe in science, but I'm 100% believer in God.
Yeah.
Like I have that relationship with him, and it's just crazy amazing.
And
you know, I feel him. He works throughout our life with our children. And when I look back in my past, there's so many times where things could have went really, really wrong, and they didn't. And I didn't realize at that time that he was in my life there protecting me and shielding me. But today, when I look back, I see him in every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Sorry about the, if you guys heard the dog and the door. I don't know what's going on. Usually we keep this pretty locked down, but I don't know what happened. But
it happens. We are a family.
So let me ask you this. What do you want, as far as like spiritually, what do you want for the kids?
I am not going to enforce my belief on the kids. I will share my beliefs with them, which I do.
Yeah.
And allow them to decide. I mean, when they're older, it's their life.
Yeah.
You know, and we've been at first, you know, I wasn't okay with Miguel talking to the kids about
what I believe,
what he believes, because I didn't want to confuse them.
You know what? You used to say that I don't even know what I believe. Do you still believe that? do you still believe that I don't know what I believe?
What do you believe?
I believe in the things that have been studied, the things that have been proven through science.
So you don't believe there's a higher energy or a higher power?
I wouldn't say no, but I say I don't know.
That's why I say that.
And this is what I've always said. Like, there isn't evidence of there being a higher power influencing everything that happens in the world today, right? I mean, at least I haven't seen it. And there may be something that started something that ended up turning into what we have today, but nobody really knows what that is. Like, I mean, they have the Big Bang Theory, they have all these other things, whatever, if you believe that stuff. But regardless, there still has to be a beginning to that. Like, where did what happened before that? And that is something that I've looked into, and scientists, they can't explain. What they say is like, it's like having a book.
Yeah.
The analogy that they gave, it was like having a book, and they have all the other pages to this book. Like, they know for sure the rest of this book. The only thing they don't have is the first couple pages. And they get closer and closer. Like, they kind of work from the back of the book to the front of the book, which is how they got there. But that's what they're missing, is the first couple pages. But everything else, they can pretty much explain, you know? But like, as far as like for me with the kids, I want them to understand everything that's out there. Like, I don't mind them knowing, you know, Christianity, but I also don't want that to be the only thing, because the world is so big. There's so many people. There's so many different religions. There's so many beliefs. It's like, look, chances are you were born in the United States, and you're going to be the number one religion here is Christianity. So that's why you're Christian. You know, if you were born somewhere else, you'd be, you know, in a different religion or whatever, you know, but I want them to have all the options, and I want them to understand what I believe. And once they know, or they have a good understanding of everything, and they decide, you know what, I'm Christian, or I'm Muslim, or I'm Jewish, or whatever, hey, do your thing. I mean, you've seen everything, and for some reason that's the one that, you know, you gravitate towards the most. Knock yourself out, you know? But I want them to have the options. I don't want it to be just, hey, this, because I said this. And like before, you were talking about, like when we're sitting at the table, you know, that one of the things that that I've told you before is like, God is, you know, supposedly watching everything. The Almighty, the All-Powerful knows everything. So if we're sitting down and saying a prayer, why do I have to say amen? Like, what are the magic words about? I already said what I needed to say, and God should be listening, right? So why amen? Or when somebody says something, you have like a standard response back, and also with you, and you know, like that's just certain, you know what I mean? Religions. But that's a lot of religions, you know. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, you should just be able, if God is out there and He is the way you say He is, just talk to Him.
Well, yeah,
you don't need all that.
And He also knows your heart.
Because a lot of times you'll ask somebody a question like, what does that mean? I don't know. That's just what we've always said.
Yeah. Yeah. Like,
it's like, okay, well, that's not good enough for me.
Yeah.
So now I'm just supposed to say it because we've always said it.
Yeah.
But, you know, whatever.
I just want the kids, and they are, I mean, to be good citizens, loving.
Yeah, and they are.
You know, make a difference, help others, put others first. And all that's in the Bible, I mean, and Proverbs. And
yes.
I mean, there's so many great verses, and,
yes,
you know.
That is true. I mean, I would never deny that there is a lot of great lessons, and there's many times when I'll be looking into something or reading something, mm-hmm. and then it's like, yeah, that came from the Bible. It's like, oh shit, like really? And I was like, yeah, it's from this verse. Like, this is what this is based off. And like, wow, that's very interesting.
Know. Like I go ahead.
But I don't know if this is the same thing, but this is something that has been around for thousands of years. I don't think people really understand what people are capable of, the things that they can do, right?
Oh, okay. I know where you're going with this.
Because there is some. Well, so yesterday we were hanging out and we just put on YouTube at the end of the night, and we were watching David Blaine. Incredible! Like we just went back and started watching some of his old stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's doing magic tricks to celebrities and all these different things. And this is like he might have been murdered back in those times. Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, no.
He may have been murdered back then. They might have killed him.
In the Bible, that's considered satanic.
Yeah.
You know, and watching it myself, I'm looking at this and I'm like,
no way.
This is not like that's what I'm thinking. Like, how did you get these powers? Like,
how did you get these powers?
How is this possible? Because it looks real. I mean, how can he stick an ice pick through his hand, through his bicep, and have someone right there next to him?
Stick through all the way through his hand to the other side.
Sitting next to him who actually touches it, who feels the ice pick through his bicep. How is that?
Not only that, but he does that. So he did it in front of Will Smith. He did it in front of a bunch of celebrities.
The president?
He did it. He didn't do that one in front of the president. He did some other tricks, and he was just like, what the heck? But at the end, he did it in front of a doctor.
Yes.
In their office.
How do you explain that, Miguel?
And they were x-rayed.
I know exactly.
This is the thing, though, is that he has talked about it, and I've watched interviews with him, and he tells you that he does two things. He does illusions, and he does endurance stunts. So endurance stunts is where he gets put into a block of ice for, I don't know how many days he got put into this block of ice. That's not magic. That's not an illusion. That's just being able to withstand being in. And when he does these things, he studies it. Like I think he held his breath for like 17 minutes. That isn't a magic trick. That's an endurance stunt. He trained with divers, with all kinds of people so that he can get to the point where he could hold his breath that long.
That's just...
So it's not magic. He learned how to do it.
Yeah.
Now, when he does other things, his illusions, that's sleight of hand. And he'll tell you, he's like, these are tricks. There's certain like qualities that humans have that he picks up on, that he knows. And like he studies this stuff. Like this is his life is dedicated to this. So that's why he's a master of this stuff. You know what I mean?
That's just crazy.
But if these were old times, they might have caught him and burned him alive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, there are things that seem unexplainable. And the other thing is that these people that are good with sleight of hand, you don't think that, I mean, this is just messing with cards that you get good at, and your sleight of hand and like how to manipulate people's eyes. Like, hey, look over here while I'm doing something else over here. But I know that if I do this, you're going to look over here. And that gives me the opportunity to do this over here with the other hand. Like, babe.
How did he get a card under someone's watch and not touch the person not see it?
He's done this his whole life. I don't think you don't understand.
I don't.
But it does. It seems insane. But he will tell you that these are illusions. I am not magic. He's like, I've studied and learned how to do this.
So you're comparing this to religious?
No, but what I'm saying, if you did that back in the day or something similar to a religious person, and even not even to that extent, just something even smaller, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. On a smaller scale, they'd be like, this dude's got some kind of magic powers, right? I mean, how else are you going to explain it back then?
Yeah.
When everybody's holding fucking candles and shit, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, that dude, he's insane.
Yeah. I don't know. It is nuts.
But
mind blown.
No, it was pretty cool. Yeah, he's got some really cool stuff. And And so recently, so I'm guessing you guys could probably tell. Like I've sounded, the last podcast I was a little stuffy. This podcast I sound probably pretty similar because it's just not going away. But we kind of got the sniffles and we got a little stuffy and coughing a little bit. So we went and we got corona tested, and we got our results back. Everything came back negative. How was what did you think of the whole testing experience?
Very uncomfortable. I mean, they had me do it myself. I mean,
that was weird, wasn't it?
Yes. And, she said, well, because I started sneezing like crazy.
Yeah.
And she said, well, you're doing it right. Because I'm like, how do I know if I'm, if
you have the Q-tip in far. So it's kind of like a Q-tip, like a really long Q-tip.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
And you just kind of stick it in your nose, and they tell you have to stick it in far enough. Like she'll tell,
turn it.
Or like when you stick it in and it hits your brain pretty much, like when it stops, when you feel like some resistance.
Yeah.
Then you turn it 3 times.
Yes.
And then just hold it for 15 seconds and then pull it out.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But it's pretty much up to you to decide when you feel the resistance or how far back you're going to put this thing.
Right.
And then you turn it 3 times.
Like,
wait 15
I didn't
seconds.
think I did it right. But Miguel was with me. So I figured, hey, if I have it, he has to have it.
Yeah. So one of us is going to get it.
Yeah.
So this is the thing. So I watch a lot of UFC.
Miguel had a YouTube.
Listen, I watch a lot of UFC and a lot of fighting and stuff. So when this whole Corona thing kicked off, and the UFC was the first like professional major sport to kind of come back, right?
Yeah.
So they were doing Corona tests like crazy. And I'm watching YouTube videos of the fighters weighing in, and they're like, yeah, they get tested before they get on the plane. They get tested as soon as they get off the plane. They quarantine them. They test them again. So I'm watching these videos of these fighters, and I'm watching them get tested. And I can see everybody, like they're taking these Q-tips and they're sticking them straight into their, like it's almost like 90 degrees to your face. Like they just stick it straight in, and they always pull it out as the fighters would, like it would hit something in the back of their nose or their throat because it's going in there. And then all of a sudden you hear, like they would start coughing, and then they would pull it out, and then, they would be like, okay, so we got our sample.
Yeah.
So we go to do our Corona test, and Sonja goes first. And I'm like, the nurse is saying, or the doctor, whatever, I think she was a nurse, and she's like, yeah, that's good. And I'm like, that doesn't look like the YouTube videos that I saw when they were testing the fighters.
But you didn't say anything either.
But I'm like, she knows. But I'm like, you know what? Worst comes to worst, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to jam that thing way back there. And if mine comes out positive, then we will just assume that we're both positive, or our family, or whatever. So you had already left. Right?
Yes.
You had already left, and now it's my turn to do it. And this long Q-tip has like a little groove, like right in the middle of the stick.
Yes.
And I'm thinking that this groove is like for the edge of your nose. Like you're going to stick this pretty much until that groove is right at your nose. And that's how you know you've gone far enough or whatever. So anyway, I know I got to stick this thing in there, like I saw in the UFC videos. So I'm looking at the nurse. I pick up this Q-tip, and I just start sliding it into my nose. And I'm just looking at her, and dude, I probably look like a serial killer.
What?
Because I had zero emotion, nothing. Like I'm focused on what I'm doing. I'm like slowly sticking this thing farther and farther into my nose, and it's getting like it's bothering me. Like it doesn't feel good, but I'm not showing any emotion, and all of a sudden my eyes. Could just imagine, no emotion in my face, nothing, and then my eyes just start to water, and still no emotion, and then tears start coming down, still no emotion, and the nurse is looking at me like, what the f-? She's like, wow, you're getting that in there, or something like that, and I'm just looking at her, I turn it, wait 15 seconds, and by this time, like I have tears coming down both my eyes, I pull it out, and put it in the thing, and she's like, wow, that looked uncomfortable or something. I was like, yeah, I guess. I mean, I'm just trying to make sure we get a good sample. And she's like, no, that'll get it. But we got our results back, and it all came back negative. So we're good to go.
Yes.
Oh, and then what did they tell us? What did they tell us when we were there? So how are we going to get our results? Do you remember?
Through email. She said she was going to email him over.
She said, if you don't hear anything.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good
thing. If you don't hear anything, that's a good thing. If you're positive, we're going to call you.
Yeah.
And the test could take anywhere from 24 to 72 hours.
Right.
We get home, and a couple hours later, they fucking call my cell phone. They're like, hi, this is nurse so-and-so from, whatever the clinic that we're at. And I'm like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, we just forgot to ask you the screening questions because you were in there with your wife. Do you, smoke any tobacco products? Do you? Yeah. And I'm like, holy crap, lady, you fucking told me if you called me, I was going to be positive. You didn't think that?
No,
dude, I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah,
we got it.
Yeah.
And
our kids were like not happy because they were like not going anywhere. Yeah.
Don't worry. So. If you have it, we'll call you. Fucking couple
we're like, we're negative. The kids went and threw a party. No.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The crazy world that we live in today. I mean, I was talking to your mom the other day, and I was talking to her about the flu shot, my mom as well. And I've never gotten the flu shot. Like, I've never gotten the flu. I've always been pretty healthy. But this time around, like, your mom's like, no, you need to get the flu. And Miguel's mom,
works, to get it.
Works in flu. The medical industry, the flu shot. Did I say the flu?
You say you need to get the flu.
You need to get the flu. You need to get the flu shot. And so we're going to go ahead and we're going to do that. Right?
Yeah, we'll get it.
Okay. I've never had it. You said you've had it a couple times,
had it.
Right?
I've had it a bunch of times.
Like the shot itself. But have you ever gotten the flu?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, I've had the flu. I've had it a couple times. Not very. I mean, I can't remember. Mm-hmm. Well, if I didn't have coronavirus in February, it was probably the flu then.
Yeah.
I think it might have been coronavirus because it was. I mean, I don't know. I guess I don't know because it is like the flu.
Yeah.
Like I had the aches, I had the fever, I had the sore throat, I had the coughing. So,
but that wasn't even, it was barely, was it? I mean, it's something that
out.
just.
No, it was out. It was out at that time. So.
And this is going to be the last time that we talk about the coronavirus. I'm just done with that.
Probably not. But actually, no. Before we get out of here, there's something that I saw on the CDC's website. The coronavirus apparently is like mutating and it's changing. So. One of the things with the vaccine and with the antibody test and all the other stuff is that if this virus keeps mutating, it's hard to make a vaccine because the vaccine may treat this kind of coronavirus and it's mutated into these kinds of coronaviruses here, and they're also affecting people, so it's not so simple to, because as it goes into people's bodies, it also, it attaches to their cells, and then when they infect somebody else or whatever, like, It changes a little bit over time, I guess. I don't know. I'm not a fucking scientist, but you guys can look it up. But one thing that they were saying on the CDC's website is now that they're seeing something about the coronavirus being airborne, not just like a respiratory with droplets. Like now they think that the coronavirus can just kind of stay in the air a little bit more. Like it's not like, like if you cough and the droplets come out and they fall down 6 feet. Mm-hmm. Well, that may not be the case. Like if you cough and it's airborne, it's just in the air and it'll travel around. So I don't know. You guys look it up. I saw it on the CDC's website. And these days, who the hell knows who you can freaking trust for your source of information? Don't fucking trust us, but look it up yourselves. I don't know if you can trust the CDC. You guys can find that out too. And another thing that I've heard is, and I also looked it up, but the coronavirus dies pretty quickly when it comes into contact with direct sunlight. Like direct sunlight kills, or UV light, or like the light from the sun kills the coronavirus. And a lot of times I've seen like some disinfectant things where it's just a light and it's UV light and they're just kind of wanding stuff down and the UV light kills the bacteria or whatever the virus. That's crazy. I don't know. I don't know if that's true or not. You guys can look it up and see. But
I don't know. They say now that it's starting to cool down that there's going to be another outbreak.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. See what happens. But anyway, for those of you guys out there, make sure you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com so you guys can watch the show. You can watch it there. You can listen to it there. You can see links to all of our social media there. So if you're not following us on all of our social media, you can go there. You can click all the different links and you can follow us everywhere, especially Twitter. We're at 19. We need one more to get to 20.
Really? One more?
Just to make it a round number. Somebody, anybody, freaking follow us on Twitter.
We have more than one listener here.
I know. But
if you're a listener, go to Twitter. Go to Twitter and
yeah, follow us there or Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Yes, but you can find it all at oppositesattractpodcast.com. You'll also see a tab at the top where it says support the show. If you click on that tab, it'll take you to our Amazon link. Anything that you purchase. Yes, Christmas. If you're doing any, like you got to buy Halloween decorations or anything.
Yes.
Anything that you purchase through our link on Amazon doesn't cost you anything extra, but it kicks back a couple pennies to our show so that we can, get new microphones or lights or whatever and make a better show for you guys. Yes. Also, you'll see a link to Trust Inc. And Trust Inc. is?
We are a nationwide mobile notary agency. We do a lot of work with title companies and law firms. So if you need a document notarized or if you're refinancing your house, hit us up and we will help you.
Yes. And if you want to go to Trust Inc. directly, you can go to trustinkusa.com. We're also affiliates with Libsyn, which is who hosts our podcast. They distributed our podcast to all kinds of different providers like iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, all the different places where podcasts are posted. And if you guys have thought about starting a podcast, if you have a hobby that you're really passionate about, I'm sure there's other people that are passionate about it too. And if you were thinking about starting a podcast, you can do that for free using the promo code OAP for Opposites Attract Podcast. And that'll give you the rest of whatever month you sign up in for free. And it'll give you the next month for free just for trying out Libsyn.
Awesome.
Promo code OAP.
And if you would like to leave us a message or comment, you can go to, or you can call us, leave a voice message.
And we'll play it on the show and we'll discuss the question. Or if you guys just want to give us a comment, the phone number is 480-912-5128. It could be about anything. It could be about business. It could be about relationships, anything you want to talk about.
Yes. You do so great.
Thanks, babe.
I don't know how you memorize all that.
It's because I've done it
just nod
86 times. But
I'm like, good job, babe. Good job.
So the other day, we were sitting at the dinner table and we're eating with the kids. And you may not remember this. I wrote it down so that we could talk, but it's funny. So we're talking about our pets, right? Mm-hmm. And we talk about one of our old pets who passed away. He was the sweetest dog ever. I'm sure, if you guys were out there, you guys have had that pet that you bond with and is irreplaceable, right? Yeah. This dog, he was just super sweet. Mm. So we're talking to the kids and somehow it comes up about like, hey, what did you guys do with Frazier?
That's right.
And we're like, so even when people die, they take them to a place and they're cremated. Cremated sounds like it doesn't sound like that bad of a word. It's like, wow. I mean, that sounds like something that you do to coffee or something. You know what I mean? Right. It's like, I'm going to cremate my coffee or so. I don't know. You know what I mean? So it doesn't sound, so when you tell a little kid that they were cremated, they're like, oh, okay. Whatever.
They don't know
but Joey's like, what's that?
Yeah.
And then we're like, well, so Sonja explains the process of cremation to the kids. They put them in this big ass oven and they burn them till there's nothing but ashes and then this and that. So we're going through and the kids are like, oh, wow. And what happened to the ashes? And we're like, well, some people decide to get the ashes, some people don't or whatever. And they're just like, holy crap.
Yeah,
and then Joey says, my friend's dog died. And they said that they zapped it into dust. And we're like, oh, shit. We're like,
parenting.
That's a way better way to explain it to a little kid.
I know.
They zap them into dust,
and
then here's the dust. And you can keep the dust and remember your pet.
Right.
But no, we fucking put them in the oven. They fucking bubble up. I was like, oh my God. I was like, wow, that's a way. So anyway, this is a parenting tip for you guys.
Right.
Do not tell your kids that they put your pet in the oven and all that shit. Just tell them that they zap them into dust. You can explain, the rest of it as they get older.
Right. That was funny. That was funny. We looked at each other like, fuck. We suck.
Yeah.
We suck.
We should have thought of that. Like that's a way better.
Into dust.
That's a way better way to go.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. For sure. Man. Good stuff. All right. So
what's up, babe?
Having a good time?
Heck yeah.
You're gonna leave me next week.
I am.
All week. You're leaving Monday.
I'm leaving Monday. I'm going to Connecticut for work.
Yeah. Well, I'm like, should we be
hey, why the hell are
throwing
the kids
that out on the podcast? No.
Well, true. But it's too late now. But anyway, hey, why is it that the kids always come up to me when I have to go out of town for work and they're always telling me that I'm going on vacation? What the hell are you telling them? Huh? What are you telling them about me going? They're like, oh, Dad, you're going on vacation again? I'm like, look, this is not vacation. I'm working.
I don't tell them you're going on vacation. Shoot, you ain't gonna be going on vacation without me. Are you kidding me? Man. No, sirree. That's funny. They said that.
So recently, I think we could kind of talk about this topic before we wrap it up and get out of here. But okay. Recently we were we've mentioned it on our podcast before about relationships and about setting yourself up for the future, right?
Yes.
And this is something that it just really, to me, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, I just kind of look at everything as far as like a team, a partnership. Like, I mean, we're in this together. I mean, and it's everything. It's work. It's jujitsu. It's, I mean, a lot of things. Like our family is my biggest partnership in my life. You know what I mean? Like, this is my most important partnership. You know what I mean? And that.
I'm gonna do the sound effects for him.
Let's fucking do that.
Really?
This is my most important partnership that I have in my life. But no, but it's true. The thing is, like, the way we've explained it before, it's like it's no longer me and it's no longer you. It's us.
Yes.
It's us doing everything together. And, we've talked about like joining the bank accounts and doing all that stuff. I guess you don't have to join bank accounts. You don't have to do all that stuff, but you guys should both be aware of what's happening, of what's going on. Like you need to know everything together because it's a partnership, like just keeping each other in the loop on everything that's happening. But I think that's important. I think that's when things change in a relationship, really, because at first it's like, well, I'm me and you're you and I like you and you like me. And maybe we could do something together, right? Mm-hmm. And we get together, but it's still like, okay, now we're together, but you're still you and I'm still me.
Yeah, it's more like a roommate.
Yeah, it's kind of like we really like each other and, we may do some stuff together, but it's still more like, it's you and me.
Right.
But there's a certain point where it's like, you know what? It's fucking us against the world. Mm-hmm. And that's the way it feels,
Aww.
Not really. It's just like, hey, whatever happens, we'll scrap together. Yeah.
Yep.
And it is what it is. And that's just, but I think when you get to that point where it's no longer it's you over there doing your thing and me over here doing my thing and we like each other and we do some things together, when it becomes now it's me and you and everything that we do is for us, for our future, for our legacy, for our family, for all that. Mm-hmm. That's when things really start to change.
Right. And I'm trying to think back.
Like, when did that happen?
How that conversation went. And I can't remember.
I think it's just something that kind of comes over time.
Natural. Right? Like, because I don't remember ever.
Well, I can tell you, like, the times that when we were going through a rough patch, like, we weren't seeing things eye to eye, and it was just kind of like we were just both around and that's what it was. It was two people doing their own thing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Where after that, we kind of focus more on ourselves, on our relationship, on our family. And then from that point forward, it never really, I don't think it's felt like, you're doing your thing, I'm doing my thing. Regardless of what I'm doing it for us.
Right.
And regardless of what you're doing, like you may be 100% doing this thing and I may have nothing to do with it, but that is still for all of us.
Right.
And I may do something that has nothing to do with you or anybody else. Kind of like my work. You know, my work, you guys have never spent a day at my work.
Right.
And I've been there for 8 years. But even still, over those 8 years, it's all for us. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No. Yeah, I understand.
And I think when you get to that point, that's when things really change. Like, and I think that's when the success starts to happen.
Yeah.
You know?
With me, I remember I was very egotistic, like just very like, you know, because
I bought this.
Right.
I got my own. I don't need you for shit.
Right. You know, like I had to really humble myself when we were going through the struggle, like when we got, you know, my sister's kids. So we had them for a little bit. Yeah. And, but the house, I bought that house.
I bought this house. And don't think that for 1 second that she didn't tell me that a couple of times.
And
I bought this fucking house.
And he, you know, moved in with me. And I think it was just,
I'm just kidding too. You were never like throwing it in my face. Like you would say, you know, oh, I bought this house, but it wasn't like I fucking bought this house, and it was never like that. But at the same time, that's also our personalities.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't do well with that. And even back in like, hey, I won't throw shit in your face, and you won't throw shit in my face. Like it is us, right?
Yeah.
Regardless.
Yeah. But when we were going through some things and I was focusing on the family and the kids and taking them to their therapy and taking care of our kids and just running the household, and you were working 2 jobs to allow you to pay for my bills, because that's how I felt with the mortgage and everything else.
That must be tough.
I've never allowed a man to pay. It was, you know what I'm saying? Like I was always head of household. I always made the most money.
And to go from making the most money to making pretty much no money, but still I was making residual. You were making some money, but it wasn't like a job money.
Right. Yeah.
But at the same time, you were very busy with things that had to be done. It's not like we, could not do, like, these things had to get done.
Right.
Whether they made us money or not, it didn't matter. Like, they had to be done.
But I did have to go through. I remember one time we were hugging. I was crying. I was talking to you because I was feeling less than, because you were taking care of me. That's how I felt. Like you were taking care of me and my bills. And you had to kind of...
See, that's the thing, is that I never saw it as taking care of you.
It was just all in my head. Those are things that I had to go through. Those are things that I had to grow through. But that's how I was feeling. And you made it so easy for me. Like you made it so easy for me because you reassured me.
Yeah.
Like this is for us. This is our family.
This is not me paying your bills. This is me paying our bills.
Right.
Like we're paying. And really, it's not me paying; it's us paying our bills.
Yeah,
we're paying the bills. That's what it is.
And so with us, and I say it all, our struggles became our strengths.
Yeah, that is true.
It is true.
Because that was
true.
Was the independent woman. That was something that we had to overcome. And today, we have no issues with any of that stuff. Nope. It's like, hey. You know what? For the longest time, I made a lot more money than actually in the beginning of our relationship. I made zero money. Mm-hmm. I made nothing, less than nothing, because I spent money on my business that I didn't have. And so that was, what was it? I was a hobosexual. I was a homosexual when you get with somebody so that you can have a place to stay. I was a homosexual back then.
I used to get so mad at my mom my mom, because she was like, oh, wow, he really hit the jackpot, huh? Got with that used to get, and I'm throwing her under the bus.
It's all
but
good.
that used to get me like upset because they didn't know you. Like they didn't know you. Like I knew you had so much potential. I knew that I could mold you exactly how I wanted you, and I did good. No,
you see like this dirty little stray coming down the street. You're like, you know what? That's a cute dog. You know,
he's if
somebody cut the gum out of his fur and gave him a bath, you know, he'd be fine. I think he would be really good.
And just breathe life into him and just believe
somebody just
in
needs
him.
to play with him a little bit, give him a little kiss, maybe give him something to eat.
You're stupid.
He'll keep coming back, you know. But no, it's true. And you do have to be careful, because what if I was a fucking dirtbag?
Yeah.
You know, so you got to be careful. But
you weren't.
in the beginning, I wasn't making any money.
Yeah.
You know, and then I started working, and then the situation changed where you weren't making much money, and then I'm making most of the money, and that's where, you know, we were having some struggles, and then over time that changed again, you know, with the business. And it goes back to, you know, now I'm making decent money, but you're making way more money than me. And the thing is that none of it, like,
now people call me his sugar mama because I'm older.
No. I call you my sugar mama.
I'm gonna get my shoe and hit you with it. Well, you owe me. You can pay me in other ways.
I ordered some things online earlier, just so you know. Anyway, no, I'm just kidding. But no. But the thing is that who gives a shit? This is what I'm talking about. It goes back to the fucking partnership,
right?
Who cares who's making? Like, we are making this money for us, and we are doing all these things for us.
Right.
That's the number one focus, is make that partnership, grow that, like, understand and be fucking in it. Right. When you guys are in it, you're fucking unstoppable pretty much. It's only a matter of time.
Oh.
Right?
Yeah. No, I'm excited for where we are, and I'm excited that, you know, hopefully with this podcast that we're going to help others get through their struggles by sharing our struggles. That's
the thing that I don't know if you get it.
What?
We already have for some people. Mm-hmm. With us, you know, our podcast isn't big, it's growing, but we already have for a couple people, and you've heard it.
Yeah.
And I've heard it. And just imagine as it grows, there's just the more people that you impact, the more people that you affect. We just got to keep it going and do the right thing.
And with your guys' help,
we can share it to more people.
It's possible.
So make sure you guys go to oppositesattractpodcast.com so that you can get us to 20 Twitter followers and share it with those that you know. Leave us a review wherever you listen to the podcast. We really appreciate it. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you so much for your support. And so you all know we are slowly getting back into having guests on the podcast as well.
So we're working on a couple things here and there.
Yes.
So thanks for being with us.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for your love. And until next time, bye.